Hi, and welcome to Speakers on Edge 15 Minutes of Fame. This is a new segment that we've just created, and we've got a very special guest to start. I don't know if you heard my wonderful neighbors barking dogs just then, but this is the joy of filming live. Would you please welcome my special guest today, Morgan? Morgan, who are you?
Well, how most people say, I guess I'll just have to see what happens in life and see how it all works out. Well, what I do is I teach people a scientific process so that kind of like how engineering blueprints work, they can design their life, their business, and their future. And wake up every day loving what they're doing and how they're living.
I like the idea of waking up every day loving what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a question for you about this blueprint.
Sure.
I've heard from one side, go with the flow.
Uh-huh.
Then I've heard the other side, only dead fish go with the flow.
Okay.
And and then I've heard from the other side is you can't be too controlling.
Yeah.
How does your blueprint fit to this?
So there's a balance between all of it, right? In some ways, you are going with the flow by allowing things that you want in your life to happen for you. Now, if you're only going with the flow, then you are like a dead fish because you don't know where you're going. I'm sure you've heard the saying, even God can't move a parked car. So if you don't know where you're going, then you don't even know what to do to get there. And so it's part of allowing the flow to occur for you and choosing what feels right as opportunities come available with in mind. And when you know where you want to go, those things come in line with what you want. Versus if you don't know where you want to go, like you ask people, what do you want your life to look like in 3 years? You're going to get a really vague answer if you get something other than, I don't know.
I've seen all sorts of people with different answers to that, and it's sort of, I don't know what my life's going to be like tomorrow.
Yeah. And it's really ultimately up to us. We get to decide. There's so much that is in our control. Now, it's not that you're controlling everything, but you do get to control how you think, how you feel, and what you do. And when you control those things and how you respond, a lot of us just react. When you control those things, we
I've
have.
got to interrupt you. What's the
Okay.
difference between react and respond?
Oh, I am so glad that you asked. You stub your toe and you react by saying, oh,
Oh,
oh, oh,
yeah.
right? That's
Yep.
a reaction. It's immediate. You don't think about it. A response is pressing your internal pause button when something doesn't go the way that you thought that it should. And you look for the good and you choose how to respond. You're making a conscious choice versus a reaction is not a conscious choice. You are working off of programming, off of um, like old habits from caveman time.
Mm.
So it's
Okay.
different.
I'm just thinking, okay, so if we go back to caveman times, that was quite a few years ago.
Just a few. Yeah.
So am I talking past lives or am I talking human evolution?
It's a little bit of both, technically. So everything is energy,
Hmm.
and energy cannot be created nor destroyed.
Hmm.
So even when our physical body dies, our energy is still around. And like if you look at like the way the brain works, right? We have like the reptilian brain, which
Hmm.
from caveman times they know survive. They are in survival mode. They don't have cognitive reasoning. And so there's a little bit of evolution there. There's a little bit of, and I'm not necessarily saying reincarnation, just that the inner, and if there are people that believe in reincarnation, and I am not the expert on that, so I'm not going to pretend to be, but there is an energy to everything. We are all energy, and energy can never be
Mhm.
created nor destroyed. So the same energy that was around in caveman times is the same energy that's around now. We just have a more awareness and a better understanding of how to use it. Electricity existed then, just as it exists now.
Oh, do you know the work of Bob Proctor?
Hmm.
Well, do you remember his statement about electricity? It's one of his very famous speeches about electricity.
You can share it because I don't off the top of my
Yeah.
head, and I don't want to mess it up for our
No,
audience.
I'm paraphrasing. I may not be 100% correct, but he said, what was it? It was something about electricity can cook your meat,
Hmm.
but it can also cook the man.
Oh yes, yes.
And I'm going to have to look that phrase up because it was just, and it's about your perception.
Hmm.
And what you've actually said so far is you've talked about evolution, you've talked about everything is energy, and that
Yeah.
the energy from caveman times has evolved, or has it?
Or has it?
Because the reptilian brain is still available to us in survival mode.
Absolutely.
This sounds like there's some sort of law of something happening.
Ooh, there's.
These,
Hmm.
because for this to happen continuously, there must be some sort of repetition of a belief or a law or of a value. Care
Yes,
to,
yes.
and what do you mean by yes, yes, yes?
Yes,
What's
there is laws.
this
Yes.
repetition?
Yes, there are values. Yes, there's a repetition of all of them. And
Mhm.
so there are invisible laws that govern the way that our world works, the way our universe works. We all know about gravity. We rely on it every day. But most people don't know about these other laws. And they are given different names depending on who you're talking to. At the root
Mhm.
of it, though, they're usually the same principle behind the law.
So, which laws do you think are the most prolific at the moment that most people live by, whether they know it or not?
Whether they know it or not. So I'm going to start with the law of thinking because
Oh,
everything is
oh.
everything. So everything's created twice. The clothes that we're wearing, the technology we're using to bring this to people, these were all someone's ideas, someone's thoughts before they could ever be created in reality. And
Mhm.
so what we think, our predominant way of thinking, is in large part everything that is created in our lives. But we don't know the power of this. And so this is one of my favorite examples. You'll hear people say, I need to get out of debt.
I'm hearing Bob Proctor again.
I love Bob Proctor, and you'll hear a lot of him in the work that I'm sharing. Absolutely, and the focus there really is debt. The universe doesn't understand get out of. And so you're focusing on debt versus if you changed your thinking to financial prosperity, plenitude, and abundance. Your thinking now is about prosperity, plenitude, and abundance. And so wherever your focus goes, energy flows. That's another very common
Yep.
phrase that people have heard, but we don't understand the power of knowing it. We don't understand the power of how powerful our thoughts are. Our
Mhm.
thoughts and our words, because ultimately we don't notice our thoughts as much as we notice our words, but we speak what we think, at least in our predominant patterns, oftentimes. And that is what creates our world. That's what creates our life around us. So that's where I would start, because everything starts with a thought. You have your thought.
So I just want to stop you there because I want to ask you, how has thought changed your life?
Oh my gosh. So where to even begin on that? I'll begin here. I'll begin and end here, because truly, I believe that when you are able to change these thoughts, everything else in your life begins to shift too. The way that we talk to and treat ourselves is crucial. And so I don't know if this is the case for men, but for most women, we have a tendency to culturally, at least in America and the women that I've been around, be very hard on ourselves. We put everything on our shoulders: the family, the job, the house,
Yeah.
everything is put on us. And whenever it comes time to give ourselves time, we often struggle with that. We feel like we don't deserve that time. We feel like we still have too much to do. And so we begin this negative pattern of self talk, the way that we're talking to ourselves, treating ourselves. And that flows over into every other part of our lives. So whenever I change my relationship with myself, internally and externally, the way that I treated myself in here, the way that I talked to myself, thought to myself, and the way that I look in the mirror and talk to myself about the way that I look, everything else in my life began to change too. High tide raises all ships. You might have heard that saying as well.
Yeah, I've definitely heard high tide raises all ships.
And that is very much the way that our thoughts work. When we shift one area of our life, one area of our predominant thinking patterns, our awareness has increased. And therefore our awareness in all the other areas of our life increases.
So what is one simple technique that people can use to shift their thoughts? And
Before
we need something simple.
Yeah, you have to notice your thoughts first, is the trick. If you don't notice your thoughts, how are you going to shift them?
I've come across a lot of people in my own coaching world, because I've been coaching for nearly 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the only problem you have with people noticing their thoughts is they then overthink and they get stuck in the thought patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you suggest they do? Yes, noticing your thoughts is one important part.
Mm-hmm.
But what would you suggest to somebody who is a chronic overthinker?
I used to be a chronic overthinker.
Really? I hadn't noticed.
Yeah, probably not, huh? Many of us go through those phases in our life, and they're only about certain things sometimes, and sometimes in phases as a whole. Our thoughts create our results. They create everything that we see. So first you have to notice your thought, then you have to shift your thought. So as a chronic overthinker, you might be starting to think, well, what if I'm doing this wrong? Which is a predominant thinking pattern that I would invite you to shift. Because if you're thinking, what am I doing this wrong? That's negative self-talk. And it's simply noticing, okay, that is a negative thought. And you reframe it. Affirmations is commonly what they're called. But I use a whole reframe thought model. So instead of, what if I'm doing this wrong? I am exactly where I need to be. There's something in this for me to learn. And so it doesn't necessarily, what would work for you and work for me would not be the same.
Hmm.
It's your thought, then you have to repattern it for a way that's going to benefit you. So some people can look in the mirror and say, I'm beautiful, and they feel that. Some people need to make some other shifts to those words before they could feel it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, because the big thing with it is when people are overthinking,
Mm-hmm.
they're not actually looking in the direction. They're looking at either the past or the future.
Yes. They're not in the.
And they're not in the moment, and they're not thinking about what they actually want.
I'm really glad that you said that too, Jake, because the only moment in which we can change is the present moment. It is actually beneficial to forget that the past exists.
Yeah. And on that, I want to thank you for your 15 minutes of fame, Morgan. Now, how can people find you? What's your web address?
My first last name.com. So morgangutierrez.com.
Excellent. Now, what's also going to happen is we'll have on our 15 minutes of fame page on our website, speakersonedge.com, we will have your lovely photo and a button that links to your website. So, I want to thank you for being here today on the 15 minutes of fame, and we'll see you on the next one.